Welcome to another episode of the Saturday Sanctuary. I am your host, K. Will.
It's your boy GP.
What's going on? It's BT.
Boy, Loso, case you ain't know so.
And we are here to make sure that you guys are knowledgeable each and every week when it comes down to Saturday, so you guys are not stressed out on your favorite team because we already told you that you're going to lose, or you're not stressed out about those bets because you listen to our tips. And don't bet what you don't have, baby. Come on now. We're fresh off a homecoming week, so we do apologize. We ain't really getting into y'all this weekend. We fresh off of that. Shout out to the house. Shout out to Spellman as well. No Trinidad there. But gonna get right into it. We had Texas A&M, LSU. Personally, a great game that I thought. Of course, like we said, it was fresh off homecoming. I was at the crib. Came fresh from tailgate. Hopped in the shower, man. It was 17-7. Hopped out the shower. Started making me a little drink to end my night. It's 28-17. And I'm like, what is going on? I see number 10 back there at quarterback, and I'm like, wow. And I think it is going with the theme of what we talked about. And I know Carlos is going to be somehow, some way bringing his point about Arch Manning needing to potentially stay in the game with Texas versus UGA. But, I mean, we saw, again, a Nick Saban-esque decision. They brought in Connor Weigman, after two possessions, 2 punts in a row in the third quarter. And from there, it was history. They got the W. We're going to first talk about that. How are you guys feeling about that change by Elko? Of course, bold change. If they lose, I honestly don't feel like he would have caught that much heat because they were not winning. It was not working anyway. So try something else. How are you feeling about it, BT?
You said BT?
Yeah.
I am. I kind of stand with the decision. We've kind of already seen what Marcel Reed can kind of do within the last few weeks, and kind of some backup duty, and when Connor Weigman was kind of dealing with some injuries. So I kind of support him and stand by him on that decision because he knows that he could potentially get a spark out of one of his younger quarterbacks on the roster. So it was an interesting call, and it ended up working out in their favor. So I support it and stand with it for sure.
Right. And GP, do you feel, like we've said, kind of pretty much, do you feel like if it didn't work out, would he really have caught heat on that change anyways?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say no. I think he was really just trying something, truthfully, because kind of like what BT said, Marcel Reed, when he started for them, they went 3-0.
Right.
But I think the thing is, they're both can be dynamic in two different ways. Marcel Reed more so with his legs. Connor Weigman more so. Is it Weigman or Weigman? Weigman more so with his arm, even though he's not unathletic. So I think he was just trying to do something. And Texas A&M can already run the ball really well with Le'Veon Moss. So I think this was just an added element that they brought in.
Right. I mean, he came in, he only had to make two passes. He only
literally
did two passes. He went 2 for 2 for 70 yards, which is more than what Connor had the whole time that he was in. Connor went 6 for 18 for 64. But Los, how are you feeling about that change with Marcel Reed?
I don't know, man, because it's kind of like Connor wasn't necessarily, to me, I mean, outside of not being able to rush and getting sacked and, you got 6 carries for negative 14 yards, which, I mean, obviously is not necessarily you running. Like, you get sacked. That just counts as that, yeah. But, I mean, 6 for 18, it ain't super effective, but you ain't necessarily throwing bad by missing 12 passes. I mean, I can't necessarily say every pass he threw was off the mark as much as the receivers, just dropping it. The stats just look better for Marcel. It just was you chanced it. It turned out really well, really quick. On top of the fact that the boy, you threw the ball 2 times, you had receivers open, but you also rushed the ball 9 times and had more rushing yards than the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th option of rushing on the team. You was only 21 yards rushing behind the second running back. So it's like, I'm not mad at the decision. I think it worked out, but I probably wouldn't have made that call mid-game myself, honestly.
After that, I mean, you down 17-7. You tried it. It didn't work out. I feel like he gave him two drives. They punted on both drives. And I feel like the game was there for the taking. LSU was not really moving the ball as much as it seemed. The field goal kicker, of course, I'm a former kicker, former punter, so I'm going to be emotionally with them. But you put him in a position, he missed 3 straight, 49, 48, and 46. I can't be mad at that because he's probably not an NFL kicker. He's probably not going to make those. Like,
Hey, you came on to do your job, boy.
hey, absolutely.
40 some yards. 40 some yards. If you are supposed to be a legitimate kicker, whether you're college or NFL, 40 some yards is supposed to be professional, collegiate level range. You're supposed to be able to hit from 40 with no problem. We go over 50, we're talking about some, you're a superstar as a kicker. But 40 some yards, you should be able to hit that at a collegiate level. Because there's some high schoolers who could do the damn thing.
No, for sure. I mean, hey, man, I've been there. It's easy when nobody's watching. I'm sure he can cash 49, 48, and 46. But when you already missed one for 49, you come out on the next field goal, they hike the ball, the holder not even looking. So now it's like, oh, man, like, I have no idea what's about to happen next. He's screwed. His mentality's already screwed. And we're not going to get into the debate, but all these skilled players, quarterbacks, whatever, they have 3, sometimes 4 downs to do their job correctly. Kickers come out there, they got to do it right then. They don't get a redo. They don't get 3 downs, 3 tries. It's hectic. Yeah. I mean, it's a tough job. But nonetheless, back to Texas A&M, they already knew the game was there for the taking. It looked like a blowout, but it really wasn't. They kept missing field goals as far as LSU, and they weren't really moving the ball like it would appear to be at the fact that they had the lead. How do we feel about Nussmeier, honestly? I think he was playing pretty good in the first half.
He played like one of the worst games I think I've seen. Maybe that's
absolutely terrible.
Because he threw like what? How many? He threw like 2 or 3 picks. Or
he threw 3 picks. But let's be reasonable, guys. They made this boy throw the ball 50 damn times.
Yeah.
50 times is absurd, bruh.
But who made them?
Coach. Coach is making them decisions.
I mean,
that was the D-line from A&M, so we might.
If the offensive coordinator is telling you to throw the ball and they pick and throw plays, I'm not gonna keep tucking that joint trying to run. First off, Nussmeier ain't no damn Lamar Jackson, so I mean, you ain't got but so many options, and it's only so many 2-yard quarterback keeps the coach is gonna keep letting you do before they get pissed off. So it's like they call that pass play, you're gonna have to throw that ball.
At the same time, we had 22 rushes. You can talk about it, GP. We had 22 rushes for 35 yards. You almost can argue they had to throw the ball 50 times.
Yeah. Plus, I just feel like you got Nuss. I trust him. He's probably at this season, maybe not the most talented quarterback in the SEC, but he's probably the best quarterback in the SEC, like play wise this year.
No. But
I'm not trying to be funny. Honest God, who's playing better than him beyond Diego Pavia?
Yeah, that was one person is Diego. But I think, like we kind of talked about, was that last week? Oh yeah, well not last week, but our argument about Ryan Day. Just because somebody else wants you, don't mean that you're actually good. He's not playing good either. Just because it's a down year for quarterbacks in the SEC. I think we already knew it would be, but we didn't know it was going to look like this. We thought it would be Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers doing okay, and everybody else looking like Jalen Milroe looking, we honestly, the media started to make me believe that they really had something cooked up. The board had something cooked up that was going to make Milroe look like another Heisman candidate. No.
I'm telling y'all, man, I think it's these offensive coordinators. I don't think they dialing it up in the SEC this year. I think we winning off of just being, our players just being better, honestly. But, as far as actually plays being dialed up, like we not really dialing up nothing special. Like we just got players that's just making stuff happen when it, from time to time. But like they're not like consistently like, okay, let's get him this pass here, boom, let's get the offensive running going. So hand the ball off to the running back for a couple plays. Now we can, get back open to the passing. Nussmeier was just throwing that damn ball, and it was like Florida State at the beginning of the year. It's only so many times when they couldn't run the ball. Everybody knows, okay, well, DJ Ugalele gotta throw this football at this point. So we not sending nobody. Like you got 9 DBs sitting back there in coverage and 2 people rushing because you can't run the football. Like That's horrible football. Like you just can't. You're not gonna look good like that. You're gonna blow games like that, and you can't win like that.
Yeah, and if you do have you drop, I mean, dropping 9 is excessive, but they can do it. Dropping 8 isn't unheard of, and I think they did that a couple of times. Dropping 8 and rushing 3 with that defensive line that Texas A&M had, they were getting pressure, rushing 3. So, I mean, it is what it is. But since we're on the track of coaches, BT, how do we feel about Mike Elko? Biggest stat that I've seen about him is off of this game. Obviously, they only scored 6 points in the second half at LSU. But then we have the last 4 games at the SEC. He's only allowed, I want to say, let me get accurate, 26 points in the second half. They really do feel like he is the master of halftime adjustments. I think bias. I love Kirby's halftime adjustments, but Mike Elko's stats right there, that's a crazy stat that you have only allowed 26 points total in your last 4 SEC opponents in the second half.
Yeah, I believe he's a very, very quality coach. Did anyone see the quote that he had after the game? He said, like, this is a real program.
Did not. I think I heard something about him shading
this one.
Yeah, people didn't know who it was about, but it was like, yeah, this is a real program. You know, it's not a fake. It's not a politician running the program and all of that. So people were saying, was he talking about, who was he talking about? Was he talking about Brian Kelly? Was he talking about, his predecessor? We don't know, but I actually really, really like him. Like I said, he made a pretty competitive program in Duke, you know what I'm saying, with Daniel Jones and, you know what I'm saying, other quarterbacks that were competitive, made them into a solid team. So, you know what I'm saying, even with Riley Leonard last year, ranked in the top 25, ranked in the top 20 at one point. So definitely a quality coach, very knowledgeable, especially on the defensive side of the ball, as we see what their defense is doing in these second halves of these last few games, as well as just a good leader of men. As we see, it's not like Texas A&M wasn't talented the last 2 to 3 recruiting classes. They've had the talent, but now we've had the leader come in there and actually be able to put it together. So now they've been able to put a package together of 7 straight wins. So I think I think Brian Kelly's kind of telling on himself a little bit. He kind of left Notre Dame so that he could come here and have a better opportunity at winning a championship. You're in Louisiana, you have access to the talent, but now you can't lead them. So I definitely think he's a better coach than Brian Kelly. Present day, October 29th. I probably might take him long term, honestly. But, Brian Kelly does have a very quality resume as well. So I'm not going to slight that. But as of right now, I'm taking Elko over Kelly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a very big point is what you said about Brian Kelly telling on himself a little bit. I think the biggest notion was when he was at Notre Dame of how hard it is to recruit there. 2 things can be true as at once, like we all like to say. 2 things can be true at once. It can be hard to get kids to Notre Dame considering the academic restraints that you have when recruiting, but maybe you can't recruit too. Right. And right now, that's what it's seeming like, because being at LSU, I think we talked about this off camera a couple times, GP and EB and I, it's very plain and simple. LSU, or Louisiana, the state of Louisiana is probably the craziest place where these kids don't want to go anywhere else. It's not Georgia, where you have Georgia, you have Georgia Tech, you have Auburn literally on the border of Columbus, Georgia, where there's plenty of talent. And then you also have South Georgia kids who are not too far from Tallahassee. Like, it's kind of crazy. So it's not Georgia, it's not Alabama, where you also have 2 schools, or it's not Mississippi, who doesn't want to leave Mississippi, and then you got Louisiana, although it's surrounded by Texas, it's surrounded by Mississippi. These kids in Louisiana are the most faithful to their state, and you can't get them, it's got to be you. GP, how are you feeling, though?
I like Mike Elko. I think, one of the comparisons people made between him and like Jimbo Fisher, as much as Jimbo Fisher was allegedly like a good quarterback developer, I would say Mike Elko is just more no nonsense. Don't know if anybody is. I find it kind of ironic now that the guys that are leading on that defensive line outside of like Nick Scouton, Elko recruited them when he was their defensive coordinator. Actually, like that big crazy class that came in, he brought those guys in, like Shamar Stewart and whatnot. So it's just like, I guess it's poetic justice, I guess, for him to be there. And, I think it's almost like a tale of 2 sides of the coin. Like this is Elko's, I think, first time being a head coach. whereas
is.
Brian Kelly is being
Well, no,
implemented.
he was head coach at Duke. So
I mean, Duke. I'm sorry.
but
Excuse me. Second time head coach, but first time at a big, high-profile program, as
right.
opposed to someone like Brian Kelly, who's been at a high-profile school for 10 years and has now gone down to LSU. I don't know. I like what Elko's cooking up right now. Honestly, like it was a slow build. I think the expectations were a lot lower coming into the season. He's kind of finding his stride. He's figuring it out. He is a defensive guy. I would say they're more so winning with defense, and he's kind of trying to figure out which quarterback is the guy for me right now. I think people need to kind of watch out when he gets that elite, potential high profile quarterback recruit somewhere down the line, because that could get ugly.
Yeah,
Because
that's very important to say because I think he turned Duke around. I mean, it got a lot of our attention. It definitely got my attention. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's just like with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame to LSU. Once you start getting those resources, what was it? We really start seeing what it really was when you were at your previous place. What was it at Duke? Were you really building a program, or was it just the lack of opposition that you had playing in the ACC? But we see right here, he's moved to the ACC, more resources, better players, and he's doing better. So it's very clear that it was him, and it wasn't a lack of anything that was going against you, any lack of forces going against you. But we'll go ahead and move on to our second big game to recap. We had Texas going up against Vanderbilt. Texas took a hard loss against Georgia. We just honestly wanted to see how they were going to respond. I mean, and they had a great opponent to go against, Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I didn't want to pick them to upset, but I mean, I probably should have took the spread, and I would have took the spread verbally. But I wish I would have put some money on the spread, honestly. But, of course, they came away with the win, 27-24. How are we feeling about Texas? Why is their offense sputtering like this? Is it the lack of opposition that they had at the beginning of the season? Was it never really that good? Was it Isaiah Bond missing on Saturday? It does make me think maybe he wasn't as healthy as we thought he was against Georgia, or thought he would be against Georgia, seeming that he sat out the next game. Or maybe he just re-injured something in the game against Georgia. But it's hard for me to think that it was all based off of one receiver not showing up, considering they brag about having so many weapons. Los, how are you feeling? Is it Arch Manning time? What's the issue?
I don't want to blame Quinn Ewers. He did throw 2 interceptions.
Two interceptions off 2 tip balls, though. I mean, still your issue, but
still your issue. But you know, he didn't 27 out of 37, 27 completions out of 37 attempted passes. You didn't throw too bad. I mean, you got a 67.2 QBR, but obviously those 2 interceptions factored much into that, like very much into that. You threw the ball for 288 yards. You were missing one of your star receivers. At the same time, I'm still stuck on the last argument. Like, you know, what are we missing with these offensive play callers? Like, you know, why is he throwing 37 times when you have a running back who has 70 yards off of 17 rushes? Like, why are we not feeding the running backs a little bit more? You're already missing a star receiver. If you can run the ball fluently, on top of him, Quintrevion running for 70 yards off 17 carries, you had another running back with like 50 yards off 10 carries. So it's just like, what are we like? Why are we throwing the ball 37 times where you could just be running the ball down the other team's throats? And it's just like, I'm not fully sold on Texas's defense anymore either, because they're giving up a lot of touchdowns and yardage. So I was kind of like, I don't know what y'all been going through, but
I will say that the running success was kind of a disguise, though. Of course, you're talking about Jaden Blue. He did do 10 rushes, 47 yards. His longest rush was 20 yards. So technically, he did 9 rushes on 20 yards, too. So it was kind of a disguise. And then the same thing with, I think, Williams. Let me make sure. No, Wisner. Sorry. Quintrevion. Yeah, that's better. They never say his last name. Quintrevion, he ran for, like you said, 79, 17 rushes. His longest was also 23. So technically, he ran for 16 off 50-something yards. So that's not good. Either one of those. I think the biggest thing is their offensive line is just not looking good altogether. GP, how are you feeling?
Los, I'm going to push back a little bit on Texas's defense not being good. I still think that they're actually pretty solid. Even going back to the Georgia game, the fields that they've had to work with, mostly due to Quinn throwing picks or just fumbling the ball, they've had to deal with short fields. But the defense is actually pretty decent, if not one of the better ones in the country. I think this is like a two-sided thing, though. I don't think Texas played anybody for real at the beginning of the year that we've come to see. Michigan is a little sus, and Oklahoma has had a plethora of issues where we thought that was going to be one of their better opponents coming to the year, and they just haven't been. I personally thought their welcome to the SEC moment was going to be having to play Oklahoma and then Georgia back-to-back, because everybody knows the SEC grind. You deal with that weekly, playing tough opponents back-to-back. They made mincemeat of Oklahoma, but then they got throttled by Georgia. But then to come back, you would think that they would come back and settle in against a team like Vanderbilt, who historically has not been great. But Vanderbilt played them to the wire, which is speaks more to the SEC just being decent. And also, that's more credit to Vanderbilt as well, too. Like, Vanderbilt is actually good this year. Like, even if people don't want to credit them, they are.
They're a football program. They're not a football
program. Like, period. Like, they got pulses on the other side, too.
Yeah. BT, how are you feeling about really, I say, how are you feeling about Sark? Sark is supposed to be this offensive genius. He's supposed to be in the likes of how we seen Lane Kiffin be offensively. How are we feeling about Sark? I don't want to say he's lost his powers. He definitely hasn't lost his juices. So what's the issue?
No, I believe it kind of goes to the question that you posed earlier. Were they really as good as we thought they were? I don't know if you said that or
yeah.
To me, that's how I interpret it. But like you said, you haven't really played anybody. So UTSA and all of that, yeah, cool. Yeah, and so like you said, Los, their defense doesn't look the same. That's because they're being exposed to something that they weren't normally exposed to. And so we're equipped on how to handle all the time. So like I said, against Georgia and Vanderbilt. So I think Sark is all right. I think he was smelling himself a little bit. Like you said, all the celebrities down there in Austin for the Georgia game. You know what I'm saying? Got all the Lambos out and Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. Like I said, that's what Kirby said.
Hold on. I just found out McConaughey was a Commanders fan. Not too much on McConaughey, man.
He is a Commanders fan.
All I know is that's why Kirby said what he said after when Georgia came. We weren't here for all the glitz and the glam. We were here to play football. So I don't know if that's what Texas is kind of trending into, but clearly they haven't been as focused. And as we already know, Clark Lee is kind of Kirby's twin in the sense. He's at his alma mater, so he has pride at his school. So he has installed pride back into the Vanderbilt program, and they're actually playing like it and recruiting like it a little bit as well. So I think Sark will be all right, but he better stay tight or it could get real slippery for him in the SEC.
Man, Kirby need to shut that up, bro. They had Quavo run the team out performing a damn song with Lenny Kravitz. Like, come on, bro. No, you're talking about Glitz and McConaughey pull up every game to watch the game. And they talk about the Glitz and the Glamour. Bro, you got Quavo running the team out performing Fly Away. What are we talking about, Glitz and Glamour?
I don't know for sure.
The university, brother. Former ambassador for the university.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure.
Then McConaughey go to Texas? He went there.
McConaughey does, but as far as outside of big games for Texas, Quavo's at any and every Georgia game. Doesn't matter who we're playing, he's at every one. Matthew McConaughey, I don't watch
McConaughey is there every weekend.
Every week, I ain't gonna lie to you.
Every weekend.
So they're equal. But hey, baby. But the glitz and glamour were there. We had, I think, KD was there. A lot of people were there. That's what it was there. It was that, but
he went there.
It was like
I'm not saying he couldn't have been there. We're just saying
we were there. That's what mattered.
That shit was less of a celebrity thing to me and more of a like, all right, this was supposed to be. They had game day. Everybody picked against them. And this is not the back.
They had a whole light show.
They just had a whole situation. Yeah, like it was a whole situation.
It was probably like the game of the season.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure the NCAA themselves put some money into making the game more extra than it had to be. But I don't think it was glitz and glamour. You know what I'm saying? Like
the NCAA probably put no money on it, but Texas spent that money.
What I think what I think Kirby should have probably said was like, you know, you invited all these recruits to the game. I hope you showed them something. I probably would have went that route more than, that probably would have been a crazy statement. It would have been wild.
He actually rock with Sark. You can't be disrespectful like that.
It would have been crazy.
I think he was, all of that came from.
That was just deep. It was a lot of other stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of.
It was targeted towards ESPN, bro, because the ESPN network has been disrespecting Kirby. They've been playing the dogs. I personally, if I ever Kirk Herbstreit, I have to watch any of his games on mute now because he is just ridiculously against us. I don't know what we've done to him besides beat him in his last collegiate game, but anytime anytime he's calling our games, it's like, bro, what did we do to you? Like, why are you always against us? Even when we was playing TCU, he has stuff to say about us, but it is what it is, bro. But I think all that came from ESPN. Everybody was doubting us, like he said. But to stay on track, I know everything always leans towards the winners, the true champs, the UGAs of the world. But we'll stay on track with Texas. Should they, plain and simple, should they bring Arch in if they struggle again? Let's just say after this bye week, they play Florida. After we beat Florida, of course, hopefully, prayerfully, I see no other way. We beat Florida. I'm not going to say blow them out, but they play Texas. After Texas's bye week, let's just say they're in the position where Quinn Ewers is struggling, or let's just say it's not even Quinn Ewers' fault. Sometimes it's just whoever's behind center. You only got 7 points, 14 points on the board at halftime, and you're in a tight game with Florida. Is it time to bring Arch in? BT, you can go.
I'm not sure if the time is now. I don't think, like I said, even though Arch is technically a sophomore, redshirt freshman, he's still a relatively young player, and I don't know if he's ready for that yet. Even when they did it in the Georgia game, for a brief moment, I don't think inserting a young player and then pulling them and then just a back and forth. I don't know if it's going to be good for a psyche, so I'd be cautious. I'd be cautious in doing that. But like I said, if he's struggling and Quinn,
what if we rephrase it to they're in the Texas A&M position? I think 17-7 is a stretch, but let's say 14-3. Second half, 14-3, two possessions in a row. Ewers is punted the ball. Is it time?
I think I very well could serve as a spark that Texas might need to kind of get that battery in their back so that they could try to potentially finish the year out strong. So I wouldn't necessarily be opposed of it. Like I said, only if it was Quinn was really, really struggling. Not if it was close, because like I said, I'm thinking about the confidence of a young player in that particular sense. So I wouldn't want to be him. But if he's struggling, then I'd definitely say potentially put Arch in there and see what he can do.
That's valid. GP?
I still think you keep Arch in the breaking case of emergency situation. But you raise a good point. I think you got to look at it this way too. They have one loss now. Yeah. And you said the Florida game, and I actually think even though we'll talk about this later, I'm assuming, when it comes to like schedules and whatnot, I think their hardest game left is, or more of a trap game, ironically, is either Arkansas or A&M. So let's just say
on the road.
Yeah, let's just say the A&M game is more of a toss-up. Like, they actually cannot afford to lose again.
They can't.
No, like, and I'm not saying that like a 10-2 Texas team I think gets in the playoff. I do think, but at that rate, what's your best win if you're 10-2? And let's say you lost to A&M and Georgia.
What are your best wins? How many games has Tennessee lost? Just one, right?
Yeah.
So how are you better than a potentially 10-2 Tennessee?
Yeah. So
now you put yourself in a position where you might not be in the playoffs. Tennessee lost to Georgia, and you also lost to Georgia.
Right.
And then who else did Tennessee lose to? They lost to
Arkansas.
They lost to Arkansas.
At Arkansas, by the way.
Arkansas.
I say all that to say, like, if you're in a very dire moment, like you just mentioned, like you're down 17-3, to like a Florida or the Arkansas, and you got that A&M game coming up, I might have to. I don't think that you should right now. I think I'd still roll with Quinn. Like I said, he's more of a big game kind of quarterback, but I think you got to keep Arch very prepared for that moment, because I feel like the situation with them, I don't think he had to get thrown into the Georgia game. I actually think they could have taken that L and been okay, honestly. But now that you have lost that game, I think you actually now need to be more prepared for, like, all right, you might actually have to go in and actually finish this game if Quinn is looking this bad.
Yeah, I think, like I said when we first talked about the Texas game, I understood why he did it, and I understand, or to my knowledge, I feel like if any time, that was the right time. But not saying he had to, but if he was going to, that would have to be when he did it. But we'll see moving forward. Of course, Texas is on a bye week this week. They have Florida after that. They play Florida at home, so I think that's a good game for them to get the ball rolling. Because, like you said, Arkansas, I don't even want to call it a trap game. I would hope they don't look at it as a trap game. It's a real game. You're playing at Arkansas. Arkansas is scrappy. Arkansas is also not a scrappy team that's untalented. They have the talent. Hopefully they give Sam Pittman time to get that together. I'm honestly not sure. I pray for it, but you playing at Arkansas. And at the end of the year, bro, regardless of if Texas A&M takes a loss before the last game of the season or not, that's going to be a tough game.
That game going to be hell. That game is going to be hell.
I think they had 106,000 this past weekend.
That game is
going to be hell. Like you said.
My damn phone overheated and turned my camera off. What the fuck? Dog, what?
Nah, but it's just, I don't know, bruh. The Arch thing, I just think the Arch thing is more of like, it's very media driven and probably like Texas fan base driven, because I think everybody's always in love with the unknown product. But Arch could be trash for all we know.
I mean,
I don't think he is, by the way.
It's also like we've seen him. Have we seen him against quality opposition? No. Like we haven't seen him against quality opponents. But I think it's even more of a teaser because they've actually seen him at least. They've seen him take snaps. They've seen him start a game from start to finish. It's different if we just call it, y'all are insane if y'all are calling for an unproven sophomore. Right. They've seen him. You know, they know what he can do. They know he's capable. He made some mistakes. I think I can't even remember who they played, but he had a game. He had 2 interceptions in. It kind of went overshadowed. But
when they beat Mississippi State, or
it was even. Hold on, I got you 1 second. Let me be accurate. I don't want to.
Was it ULM?
Be accurate with it. I want to say it was the UL. Was it the Monroe game? Let me check.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's crazy when GP mentioned Tennessee. Yeah. I just thought about how Tennessee was ranked like number 4, and then they only dropped to like number 8 when they lost to Arkansas. Felt like that was a little
yeah, we'll get right into that. Actually, we can go ahead and talk about the top 25. Of course, the AP is always up for discussion, always up for argument. They're always making somebody upset. How are you guys feeling about the 13 through 25? We'll start there. How are we feeling about that? 13 is, and of course, we have, I guess, an expected drop off for Missouri, sitting at 25. I honestly expected them to drop out, but how are we?
That's where I wanted them.
25.
Get them gone. Get them gone. They don't deserve to be there. They're not good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't keep Missouri in my top 25 personally, but you know, I think that I ain't gonna lie. I think at this point they're probably ranked 25, potentially to boost other teams' rankings up. But that could.
Do y'all feel like the AP has an agenda? Just a broad question.
The wrong one.
No, but the thing is also like rankings don't really ever work me up at all. I've always said this. I've actually said from the jump, I wouldn't rank teams until the end of October anyway, like until October is done with. But you have to rank games from the beginning because that just draws eyeballs. Like that's intriguing matchups in general. But like overall, it usually doesn't bother me. It's just funny sometimes to look at because people will be like, oh, this team is great. And then lo and behold, that team stinks, aka like this year, Michigan, or like in Oklahoma. Granted,
or Mizzou.
Yeah, and Mizzou is interesting because I feel like I sniffed them out at the beginning of the year, where I was like, that team's not that great. Lo and behold, they've gotten blown out by A&M. They've gotten blown out by Bama. So I don't know.
All right, and I mean, I can't really argue against anything you said there. BT, do you feel like they should move to power rankings versus just simple ranking? A lot of people have called for that. Even Nick Saban himself has called for power ranking versus the regular ranking of teams like we've seen. Josh Pate, he does power rankings every week. I mean, do we move towards power rankings?
No, I mean, I think we keep it where it is. I don't really see a problem with that, and I'm pretty cool with the entire top 25. Honestly, I mean, I think Colorado could be a little bit higher, but Missouri. I mean, I don't think that there's 30 teams better than them, 40 teams better than them. They're definitely in the top 25, in my opinion. Just depending on how when. I said any team can be beat on any given day. Just like Vandy,
But
Alabama.
there may not be 30 or 40, but there's 25 better than Missouri. There's no way. I just can't look at this list and be like, Army's 21, SMU's 20, Mizzou's 25, and Navy don't deserve to be on this list. When the only team they've lost to is the top 3 team in the country.
I'm gonna have to push back. I don't think Navy should be up there, but I would take Vanderbilt. I think if ranking is simply just what they made it to be, I would say Vanderbilt is better than Missouri. I think it's not about if it's not a power ranking, it's not about who will be favored, and it's about who is better simply based off of what we've seen, the eye test included, or majority of it being based off eye test. Vanderbilt's better than Missouri. I think Vanderbilt would deserve 25 spot, especially considering if you're going to punish Texas for almost losing to Vanderbilt, how can you not reward Vanderbilt for almost beating Texas?
That's what I'm saying. Like, we punishing Vandy for losing by 3 to Texas. And, I mean, I feel like they're really being punished, honestly, for the loss to Georgia State on, like, a last-second heave more than anything.
To be honest, I honestly just feel like the AP don't even think that deep. I think the AP thinks week to week. That's why I was asking, do y'all feel like they have an agenda? I feel like sometimes
it depends on the school. It depends. Yeah. It really depends on the school, because some schools gonna get the benefit of the doubt. Like a Georgia or Alabama is always gonna get the benefit of the doubt, typically compared.
But they benefited the doubt in the hell out of Tennessee. And I ain't seen Arkansas ranked. I ain't seen Arkansas ranked once this year. Now, I know I say I like Arkansas because they got a 6'5" quarterback who can run the damn football. Taylor Green I think he going to be the truth. But you lost to an unranked Arkansas. Like, I don't think you going from 4 to 8. I don't really think that was punishment enough. Like, you lost to unranked Arkansas.
But Fayetteville's not an easy place to play.
But yet we're hurting. Other teams for losing to top 3, top 5 ranked teams. That's kind of fucked, if you ask me. Like,
I just wish we would have kept the same energy when Georgia fell 6 spots by losing to 3 and now everybody's so benevolent. But
the college football playoff rankings are different than the AP rankings.
It's different.
So,
but we know the college football playoff has an agenda.
We're talking about the principle of, like you just said, someone's losing by 3 points to a top 5 rated, and like I said, so yeah, no, it gets wicked. I understand, Los, but that's what I'm like. I'm comfortable. Georgia, we get we got taken advantage of last year too, blow up for the first time ever. So I mean. I kind of like it where it is. Like I said, I see Colorado going up a little bit higher. Yeah. But no, I'm I like it.
I think a big discrepancy is Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is a 2 loss, but they've lost to Kentucky. You lost to LSU, who just got killed by. I mean, it wasn't a blowout, but I mean, the fact that y'all let Texas A&M come back like that's a bad loss. I think those 2 losses are looking bad right now. I mean, Kentucky's not looking good as we thought potentially. I mean, Kentucky lost to Florida. So it's like You
For the
have
first time in 3 years, though, so it's not like
yeah.
So,
I think it's
But
just
what the
Ole Miss
past years got to do with that? No,
Ole Miss. I think
a
Ole
little
Miss
bit.
is literally just not. I don't know how you slice it up to let me know that Ole Miss should be even ranked that high. I mean, it's not high, but I mean, I think the 2 losses they do have are bad. The wins they have against lesser opponents isn't even that, that great. I think Ole Miss eye test wise and based off strength of schedule so far, it's not good.
You think that
I'm
should be
honest,
lower?
that LSU
I
loss
think
not that bad. The LSU loss is not that bad because LSU ironically still has a way to get to the SEC championship if they went out. I think the Kentucky loss is horrible because Kentucky is dog shit right now.
we beat them by 28. They're horrible.
They're not good. Kentucky's not good. And like there were too many there were a lot of expectations on Kentucky of being like halfway decent. That's a bad loss. But
Yeah.
That's my argument with Tennessee because they only beat us by 6.
losing
So
LSU,
if we use the eye test, how bad are they versus how good are we type shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we clearly not that good as Florida. So, like how much leeway we really giving these teams? Like,
I just don't think they're. I think it's hard to put. You start talking to the academies, you're talking Army, Navy, and all that. I don't want to talk about where they should be ranked. Personally, I just wherever people want to put them, sure, whatever, cool. But though, if we're talking about anybody being ranked, waiting to be ranked to the end of the season, that's them. I just want to see. I need to see entirely what y'all do the whole season before I get to ranking y'all. But if we talking about an SMU, yeah, lesser opponents, but I mean, they won their games and they look nice doing it. Although they did stumble last week. Washington State, okay, no. Colorado, that's who I more so compare Ole Miss to. I mean, I feel like eye test wise, Colorado looks better than Ole Miss. Is Colorado going to be Ole Miss? No, I'm not saying that, but they look better.
I think when you start comparing teams, instead of doing a head-to-head thing necessarily, I think you got to more so look at like who is your best win. I think that's probably the best way of maybe how they're doing it because obviously all conferences aren't going to be created equal. Like I said, for Ole Miss, we all agree that Kentucky L is bad. I don't think that LSU L is that bad, even though LSU has lost now to A&M and to USC. But again, LSU still has a path, ironically, of being a top 4 seed in the playoff if they win out and make the SEC championship, and A&M wins out.
But who is Ole Miss's best win though? I mean, you got.
We can look.
Of course,
into that.
we're not going to talk about their first 4 games. They were ridiculous. After your first 4 wins, you had Furman, of course, and then it's no point to even mention that. But after those 4 games, you went and lost to Kentucky. You beat South Carolina at home. I mean, on the road. Sure, that's 27-3. Cool. South Carolina's a good team. But
South Carolina and Kentucky played each other to the wire just the previous, few weeks prior. So it's like,
and then it's that even further shows it's about matchups,
Yeah.
But LSU, you lost to LSU, and then this past week you beat Oklahoma, who we know is not worth damn.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's like we're still waiting on their best win. Otherwise, you're going to classify who as their best win.
I would say
that's
South
why I don't know
Carolina.
Kentucky that bad.
I would say South Carolina probably is their best win. When they beat, it was probably decent, but South Carolina is probably their best win. And then when I go to Colorado, to be honest with you, they have been impressive, especially of late. The Nebraska L is a bad L, I think, but I mean I'm gonna just say at the beginning of the year, you lost by 3 to Kansas State, and Kansas State only got like 1 L, I think. So,
I mean, maybe we're I might just be being a little biased here. I think I just caught myself on some biasness. I think my ill feelings toward Ole Miss is also what I think Ole Miss should be. Being an SEC team, being how much money or I won't say how much money y'all spent on that D-line, but how many high-profile transfers you have on that D-line, considering all of this talent you have. And then I look at Colorado, who coming into the season, we're trying to figure out how are they even going to run and get.
Are they going to make a bowl game?
How are they going to make a bowl game? How are they going to win without even being able to run the ball? How are they going to be able to win without even being able to stop the run? And then they come in, oh, wow, some games it's like, dang, Offensive line getting a little push. Defensive line getting a little pressure. Oh, Shador got a little time. And it's like, oh, wow. And I think I have to catch myself there and admit my own biasness there. I think I just look at Ole Miss and look at what type of talent y'all have and what y'all are doing with it versus what lack of talent Colorado and other teams like SMU has and what they're actually doing with it. So maybe that's on me right there.
Okay.
Yeah. I just think the wins and losses are just all so relative.
Yeah.
Because like I said, our group chat was going off. Oh, Georgia suck when we played Kentucky. Okay, but then it's okay. Well, Kentucky held it tight with the number 2 team in the nation, number 1 team in the nation. You know what I'm saying? But then Carlos beat Kentucky by 28, so Florida got to be ranked in the top 8. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like
that's what I've been saying. Sorry, no.
Hey. So it's like that's why I'm just like it'll all continue to play itself out. There's 12 spots up for grabs.
Yeah.
So you got situations of like Vanderbilt who've beaten Alabama and could have beaten Texas 2 times.
Awful.
They could. I mean, you beat the number 1 team in the nation at the time at home, and you almost beat another top 5 team at home. Like
number 25.
First time in your program's history. Like
literally.
I definitely don't agree with.
Good job, school.
I don't
put him in number 25.
Being left out. I don't even, and that's nothing against Missouri, but it's like,
Brad, what is
going on
out of there, bro?
I think we can clearly see with our 2 to 4 odds that Vanderbilt is better than Mizzou for sure. But we'll move on to the upper half of the top 25. How are we feeling about that 1 through 12? If we break it down real quick, of course, obviously we know the top 4 slots will be slated for the conference champions. Let's just say, for kicks and giggles, let's just say Oregon wins the Big Ten, Georgia wins the SEC, and we'll give Miami the ACC win, and then we'll go ahead and give the Big 12 win. We'll go BYU since they're the highest ranked Big 12 team. Let's just go ahead and give those the automatic 4 spots. How are we feeling about those remaining 12 teams? And, of course, we'll end up actually having to take Iowa State out and replacing them with a Group of 5 team. Regardless of who that Group of 5 team is, how are we feeling about the remaining 11 teams there?
Whoever's the 5 seed is probably loving life. I don't know if that's – and put it like this. I think the team – that does not make the SEC championship, like the top team that doesn't make the SEC championship or in the Big Ten championship, would probably be loving life. You get a week to rest during that conference championship game. Granted, you got to play the first week of the playoffs, but you play a allegedly weaker opponent. Get a week of rest. You don't get beat up, and you get to go play.
What would that go to though? Would it be? I feel like that would probably be Ohio State, wouldn't it?
I mean,
I think it'll be between the loser, whoever loses the Big Ten or the SEC championship, whoever is the better team.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, based off the rankings right now, it's going to be.
Yeah, not necessarily though.
Yeah.
I think because like I told you before, like there is a weird. I know SEC specific. This is also why I hate that they're like no divisions, because you can at least create like a line of demarcation of like, all right, this team gonna get in, this team not gonna get in to this championship, but there is a way that A&M and LSU can play each other in another rematch for the SEC championship, but Georgia technically is the like number 1 team in the nation or like number 2 team in the nation and not play for the SEC championship and sitting at the 5 seed come the first week of the playoffs. And that's if all 3 of those teams. That's if all 3 of those teams went out. Because
I know that's a way, but to be honest, I don't even think it's that we got to worry about it. LSU's gonna.
It ain't nothing that's gonna happen because
will it happen?
Florida gonna beat LSU? No, it won't happen.
It's unlikely, but I'm saying it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a possibility. I think, like, of course. I mean, to be 110% honest, that's the best situation for Georgia. We ain't got to play the championship. We won out. We did our job. Now we rest up. We the 5 seed. Great. I will take that all day long. Is it going to happen? I don't see it. But, of course, I take it. If I'm being 110% honest, I'll take that.
I think we'll see. I think in terms of, like, the Big Ten, just to bring that back home to that, I know we said in this scenario Oregon wins the Big Ten. I do think that, like, the loser of this Ohio State-Penn State game this weekend will probably be that like third team that I was talking about, that like outside scenario, stuff like that. They'll probably be like a 6 seed, maybe a 7 seed, which is still pretty dangerous. Like, I would say Ohio State would probably be a more dangerous 6 or 7 seed than maybe a Penn State would if they happen.
Would they put Ohio State as the second best? Second, I think they would. I don't see them doing it. One, because it's Ohio State, but I was gonna say, in this case, let's just say Ohio State gets a rematch against Oregon in the Big Ten championship and loses again to Oregon. Do they? I mean, they beat Penn State, lose to Oregon Big Ten championship. Are they still the second highest ranked?
I think you're a 7th or worse seed. I think that's probably the worst scenario to be in, is to lose your conference championship game, though. I think unless it was like you're undefeated and you lose that joint, because then it'd be like, all right, look, they didn't win a conference championship, but like they went undefeated and they lost. Like,
it would be a TCU type of situation,
or like us last year, we would have been a 5. We for sure would have been a 5 seed, I think, and like the real, if they had what we have here last year, we lost by what was it, touchdown or like 3 points to Bama?
By 3.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I was like 3 points to Bama and was on like a 40-game win streak. Like they wasn't finna disrespect us and put us at like the 8th seed or nothing like that.
Yeah,
it would definitely been a 5 seed.
I think personally, if Ohio State does their job and everybody freeze.
No, listening to you.
Oh, everybody! Nah, I promise to God. On the bottom, everybody froze, and I was just like,
"We all waiting on you."
Oh, stop! Yeah, everything froze. I was like, "Oh shit!" Nah. I think honestly, if Ohio State does their job this weekend and beat Ohio State by at least 2 touchdowns or more, I think losing the SEC Penn State by 2 touchdowns or more, I think just based off eye test, the committee will give them number 5, even if they lose to Oregon in the championship. Because Oregon, I think you can, because they're the number 1 team in the country.
I don't think you lose to the same team twice and be a 5 seed.
They're the number 1 team in the country.
I don't think you can lose the same team twice, because at that point you have 2 losses, and like I said, let's say that scenario
because you
out.
But if we're throwing eye test in, you just beat the dog shit out Penn State. So you can't put them over you. You can't put nobody else over Penn State because they're the number 3 team losing to the number 4 team this weekend. So it's kind of like
in this scenario, it also matters who are you putting. Who else who's in competition for it? Because if we say Texas A&M wins out, Texas A&M plays Georgia, Georgia beats Texas A&M, you're gonna put Ohio State in. Not everybody's in, but you're gonna put Ohio State at the 5 seed over Texas A&M. Texas A&M went out in the conference and they lost.
If Texas A&M beats Georgia.
No, Texas A&M loses to Georgia in the conference championship. They win out this rest of the season until this conference championship, lose to Georgia. You're gonna put Ohio State above Texas A&M? How?
I can't do that simply due to the fact that yes, Texas A&M lost to Notre Dame first game of the year, but that was an out of conference loss. You lost now in your conference championship game, but you didn't lose to the same team twice. That's the only thing I'm gonna reiterate.
And your quarterback was hurt.
But you lost to a worse team.
You lost to the same team.
Notre Dame was a much worse team. Yeah, you lost to the number 1. So we talking about the number 1 team in the country compared to Notre Dame.
Carlos.
I mean, to be honest,
and also if they lose to Georgia in the championship, that will also be their second loss.
Carlos.
So you can't be like, oh, they're going above Ohio State, who will only have their second loss at the time as well, just because they lost to the number 1 ranked team in the country.
You would, because of strength of schedule at that time. Also, Texas A&M has played more formidable opponents. So is Georgia. I also think if this plays out how we just said, Texas A&M loses to Georgia, Georgia's going to be number 1 over Oregon, because Georgia at that point will have beaten a ranked Tennessee, a ranked Ole Miss, a ranked Texas. They're going to be number 1. But
they ain't beat nobody but LSU.
Maybe not, only because Oregon at that rate would be undefeated. So that's the only.
They only beat LSU.
I think college football. I think they'll give
Mizzou number 25 now. Bowling Green, Florida, McNeese, Notre Dame. They ain't playing nobody.
I mean, as of right now, Notre Dame will be in the college football playoff.
My point I was trying to make to you, Carlos, was context. They lost to Notre Dame the very, very first game of the season. Hypothetically, if they win out and lose to us, they would have went on an 11-game win streak and lost in the conference championship to the number 2 team in the nation. So I understand what you're saying about the number 1 team in the nation, and we're losing, but losing back to back to the same team that looks a little bit worse than the team.
The best team that you played.
11-game win streak.
But you're on an 11-game win streak against nobody, bro.
That's not true. You would have beaten Texas. You beat Texas. You play Texas, who's a top 5 team right now.
They're not beating. Okay. If they beat that, okay, that's a crazy scenario because they're not beating Texas. But
hold on, hear me out. I just think that the aspect of losing to the same team twice, because the thought is like, all right, you lost in Oregon. I can give you grace for that a little bit, and you barely lost. But if you lose at a neutral site to the same team, that's where it's like, all right, bro, like, I don't know if I can put you at 5.
Guys, mean, did we not see this last year with Dan Lanning?
Like, you lost
but y'all didn't feel like this.
Twice. Did we not
but y'all didn't feel like this when the committee did y'all how they did for Alabama.
What do you mean?
What you mean?
We didn't lose to them twice.
We didn't lose to them twice.
But that one loss really fucked y'all a little bit. So it was like, and y'all did not like how they did y'all after that.
Let me handle this. No,
and they were a top ranked team. I don't feel like y'all should have been, put how y'all was. But
context matters. That the committee did something unprecedented that they've never done in their existence.
What that mean though?
And they did the number 1 team from number 1 to number 7. They've never dropped that far ever.
6,
especially losing in a neutral site game.
Which is also why Tennessee should have been. Y'all only dropped to 6, but also why Tennessee should have dropped more than 4 rankings. But
I feel
I think we're very much discrediting being number 1 in the country. Right? We're discrediting that a lot.
No. I'm not discrediting nothing.
As of right now, they're undefeated. So, I mean, we can't.
I'm not discrediting anything about Oregon. I'm discrediting the fact that you would have lost to the same team in the same season twice, and you didn't win your conference. I can't put you at the 5 seed. Yes, is Ohio State, like, would they talent-wise, could they be a 5 seed? Absolutely. I cannot, in good faith, put them as a 5 seed, in my opinion, right there. I just can't.
But they're losing to the number 1 seed twice. That number 1 seed is the one team that's preventing them from winning their conference because that number 1 team is in their conference.
This is Oregon's situation last year. That's Oregon's situation last year. They lost to Washington twice. They weren't better than. They lost to Washington twice. Were they better than Georgia? No. That's literally the scenario you just gave to us, essentially.
That's the
but they just weren't better than Georgia, but they would still be a better team than Penn State. They would still be a better team than Miami. They would still be a better team than they're still a better team than everybody that's below them outside of losing to that number 1 team.
What would the 5th ranking mean in the college football playoff? What would that mean, Carlos?
It's the easiest.
It's easy. It's easy to say. Do you know what the 5th ranking in the college football playoff would mean? In this
outside of your conference champions, you are
the highest ranked non-conference champion. That would not be accurate to put them at number
5. In good faith, I personally,
I don't know, Chief,
could not do that. Especially.
So who would y'all put number 5?
I mean, you have to give us a scenario.
Well, Texas A&M's not winning out, so who would y'all put number 5? Let's just say that.
Who's the conference champion? Who's the
give me
Oregon's winning the Big Ten. UGA wins the SEC.
Who did they beat?
Huh?
Who did they beat? Did they beat Texas again?
I feel like they played Texas. Yeah.
So they beat Texas again.
So
I don't think A&M. There's no way A&M. They can't. No, they can't because they lose to Texas.
So Georgia beat Texas.
I have A&M winning out and losing to us, to Georgia in the.
Well, they losing to Texas, so let's go with that scenario.
Hold on. Now you have a better argument, in my opinion. If Georgia plays Texas, if Texas wins out and beats A&M at the end of the year, and they play Georgia in the SEC championship, and Georgia wins, now I have a bigger argument, especially if, in that situation, if Ohio State loses to Oregon again, of who do I put at 5, Texas or Ohio State? That, to me, I can like understand a more of an argument for that, because at that point I'm going by eye test. Who lost and by how much?
I also just don't see, like I said, Oregon can be undefeated all they want to. Georgia has now beaten ranked Texas, a ranked Tennessee that probably will be in the playoff, and then they beat Ole Miss. They're going to be number one. Oregon can be undefeated all they want to, but it will be, okay, Oregon.
If Oregon don't lose a game, Oregon's number one. Oregon's number one, hands down. So. No questions asked. They're undefeated.
Okay, let me put it like this. I only say yes just because I know the committee hates Georgia. If it's Alabama, that's a one-loss team. Alabama's a one-loss team, and they beat Texas at Texas, beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss, then beat Tennessee at home. They're not putting Oregon above Alabama that beat all those teams.
Brother man. They're undefeated. They haven't lost. You cannot. Nobody else is undefeated in this ranking of who we thinking about putting top 5, other than Miami and Penn State.
How many games did Florida State lose last year?
None.
They won't put They wouldn't have put a Alabama above a undefeated Oregon, but they'll kick Florida State all the way out.
They didn't like them niggas. They didn't have that white boy playing quarterback no more, so they kicked them out.
They like Alabama, so they do that.
They like Dylan Gabriel. That boy gonna play. Bro, they like Oregon. Bro, you think, first off, if we getting political, you think Nike going for that? You think Nike's going for that? Oh my God, brother! They will. The whole organization will be shut.
I also don't think they care anything about that, though.
Bruh.
I think the Ohio State Penn State game holds more weight into your argument of Ohio State getting to the conference championship and losing to Oregon again, because thank God for them, Penn State is ranked in the top 4. So that's technically a top 5 win. This is so funny too, because this is like the movable object versus the irresistible force or whatever. Like Ryan Day sucks against top 5 teams, and James Franklin also sucks against top 5 teams when they play. So they're going head to head in this instance. So that'll be funny. I think if they beat if Ohio State beats Penn State this weekend, that's more of a blessing for them. In your scenario of them potentially.
I mean, yeah, that's the only way my scenario works. I assume Ohio State does their job. I said at the start, Ohio State wins by like 14 points. Then, even off eye test, you got to give them 5th place. I mean, granted, Texas A&M doesn't win out and play. I mean, who the fuck thought of that to begin with? Texas A&M winning out. Come on now, like
that's realistic. That's unrealistic. That is realistic.
I think you're playing Texas A&M, and I mean Texas is playing Texas A&M at Kyle Field, dog.
Bruh, that's gonna be nutty,
and it's gonna be at night. I mean,
oh my God!
So, but then I think biasness goes and stuff like that. They may not want Texas to.
Look, they beat Arkansas by 4 points. They beat Mississippi State by 10 points. I ain't buying it. But I hear y'all though.
Bruh. Smack Texas in Texas, so none of that matters, bro. We know that's matters.
So I'm not in no way, shape, or form. I'm not saying Texas A&M is better than Georgia, but on the road, we just smacked Texas, and Carson Beck played horrible. Absolutely. They got a better running back situation right now at A&M, and their defensive line is arguably better than ours. You mean to tell me you really don't think Texas A&M can win that game against Texas at the end of the year? That joint gonna be juiced, bruh.
I mean, we'll see. We'll move on though. We'll go talk about the Big Ten real quick. We got a quick fire situation going on. We call it our Big 4 for 4. We're gonna take 4 conferences, obviously the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and the SEC. Talk about one topic each. We got 4 minutes to get that through. We'll go ahead and start off with the ACC real quick. With the ACC, we have the top 3 looking pretty nice. We got Clemson, we got Miami, and we have Pitt. Pitt plays SMU this weekend, and we'll go ahead and make our picks for that game along with this question. Who secures the 3rd spot in the ACC? And we'll start with you, GP.
SMU.
If you're not ready, okay.
Yeah, I just guessed. I just said SMU. I don't have any reason. I like what the offense is doing. But that's SMU. That's my pick.
Well, before you throw your pick out, let's throw this fact out there though. SMU and Pitt play this weekend.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to know that, and SMU and Pitt are in order the third and the fourth spot in the conference. So boom, there's that. But SMU has SMU has 1 loss. Pitt has 0 losses. Both teams have 0 losses in the conference so far. So boom, there's that. I don't know if that changed your answer.
No. I just feel it. It's SMU.
I'm going. Got to check the injury report. Hopefully, Eli Holstein is still. If he's healthy and he's a go this weekend, then I'm kind of 55-45 leaning towards Pitt, but I do kind of like what SMU is going right now. But Eli Holstein is looking very, very good. Transfer from Alabama, starting quarterback at Pitt. So I'm gonna lean Pitt right now if Eli's healthy.
Me personally, I want to say SMU. If they lose this game, I don't know if eye test wise they would get put in over Pitt if they lose to Pitt.
Absolutely not.
Or they for sure win it because they would have 2 losses at that point. But my biggest problem with SMU is Jennings, their quarterback, and one, they do like a switch swap quarterback thing when coach just feels like the other quarterback could do better, he just throws him in on a drive. But this isn't like a throw Arch Manning in. This is we're doing this every other drive. We might flip flop the quarterback, and it's like no set game plan. So it looks really ugly. And like when you can't have one quarterback really get going, he looks really bad. So it's like Jennings has a lot of mistakes on the field sometimes because he just never gets it flowing. So I don't know, but I'm gonna lean SMU because
I mean, I feel that. I think SMU's at home. I want to say that they will handle business there. I think Pitt's pretty tough too, though. I actually will go. I'm gonna go SMU. Just because they're on the road. I think being on the road will kind of lessen the mistakes or lessen the consequences that you have to deal with from those mistakes. And I think potentially, if Holston is able to play, I think he can make a mistake. Maybe not 2, but I think he'll make 1 mistake. If Holston's not playing, it's definitely going to be SMU. But we'll be able to see there. Any last thoughts on that?
I just think SMU has played better competitors as far as teams. They played BYU, TCU. I mean, TCU is not crazy, but they beat Florida State, who sucks this year, but Louisville, Duke. I feel like they played better competitors, so I just feel like they got a bit of the edge.
Okay, I can live with that. All right, we made it under 4 minutes for that. Good job, guys. We'll move on to Big 12 land over there. We're going to ask the question here, who do we see being in the top 3 of the Big 12 at the end of the season? I kind of know my answer, but how are you guys feeling about it?
You go ahead.
Oh, my fault, Jimmy. My answer is just simply BYU. I just think their offense is just too heavy for anybody to be able to compete with. I don't think defensively any of the other teams can actually keep up with them. I think the best chance is Colorado, but I thoroughly dislike Colorado's defense, so I know for sure they can't keep up with that. So I think BYU has it by me personally a landslide.
So top 3 though, who do you feel is the top 3? Right now we got Iowa State and Kansas State are in the top 3, and Iowa State and Kansas State play each other.
I like BYU, Iowa State, and I want to put Colorado at number 3. Just to give them that shot. They've been kind of getting it together, and I think Kansas State, if they lose one, then Colorado has that shot for number 3.
What's real? BT?
I would like to say BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado as well. However, Kansas State has the tiebreaker over Colorado, so they both have 1 conference loss.
So they probably have to lose 2.
They have to lose another. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know if I see that necessarily. So I'm scared for Colorado, for Dion, for Prime.
Well, actually, technically they wouldn't as long as Colorado wins out because they would be 4-2. They'd have 2 conference losses. Kansas State would.
I'm tripping. Yeah, I'm tripping.
Colorado's one.
So yeah,
unless Colorado loses another one, then yeah.
Yeah, so that would work. Yeah, if that works. So yeah, I'm still BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado.
Yep. And I think Colorado's toughest game is coming up at Texas Tech after this bye week, of course. GP?
My top three, I think, would be BYU, Iowa State, and Colorado. I'm gonna leave KSU out only because KSU plays Iowa State at Iowa State at the end of the year. I think that would be tough for them at the end of the year. I don't dislike Kansas State. I just think that playing at Iowa State is tough for them the year.
I mean, that's bad.
Yeah, I think it's just something about, having to play on the road that late, knowing you're trying to get in, especially trying to get into the Big 12 championship. Nah, I don't know.
I agree. All right, and moving on to our third of our Big Four, talking about the Big Ten. We have 3 big games going on in the Big Ten. They finally get their shine this week. You got Ohio State going on at Penn State. And then we have Oregon. They're going to be on the main stage against Michigan. Not that big of a game that we probably thought it would be if this would have been played last year. But we do have Indiana also going against Michigan State. Indiana may or may not have their starting quarterback. We'll be able to see. So I think that's what has that spread being a little lower than it usually would. Out of those 3 teams, who of the favorite teams is more than likely to be upset? And you have to choose one. So we have Ohio State, favored by 3.5, going to Penn State. Oregon going to Michigan. They are favored by 14.5. And then we have Indiana, who's favored by 7.5, going over to Michigan State. Who are we choosing to be the upset out of those top 3 teams?
I'm going to go with Ohio State for 500, please. Like I said, hopefully Drew Aller's healthy this weekend. I believe it could be a very, very close competitive game. Will Howard continues to show me who he is, which is not a proficient passer right now, which is why Avery Johnson kicked him out of Manhattan. So I'm definitely going to be tuned in to this Big Ten brawl this weekend with Ohio State, Penn State, Nick Singleton, and Fat Man Katron Allen get rolling. What JT and Jack Sawyer are going to do out there in Tyleek. So I definitely think that it could be a surprise game. And like I said, a new offensive coordinator got that offense way more explosive. Be on the lookout for Ohio State getting upset.
That's real. Who are you taking, GP, out of those 3 games? Who is more than likely to be upset out of the favorite teams?
My heart says Ohio State. I wanted to say Indiana just to be contrarian, but I'm going to have to go to Ohio State. I just think Penn State is more evenly matched of a team than Michigan State is with Indiana right now. And Indiana have been putting belt to ass lately. So I have to give them credit for that.
I respect it. Carlos?
Quick caveat, real quick, and I'm going to say shout out to our former UGA player. I'm calling it now. AJ Harris is going to get a pick this weekend, former 706er. Playing for Penn State, DB. He's going to get a pick on Will Howard this weekend.
Uh-oh.
All right. Shout out
to cash sign.
Yeah, shout out to my guy. Definitely shout out.
Fuck no. Anywho, I think everybody had the right mindset because we all picked a winner here. Ohio State for 500, please. You said BT. Let us go ahead and get that. Lock that in. Thank you, please. I think that's a no-brainer. Ohio State is probably for sure the easy win here. There's no way they lose to Penn State. Penn State's offense does not move fluently at all. Their defense doesn't even hold up too well, if you ask me. If I gave a quick look at their schedule here, I mean, USC, everybody expected that to be a decent game, but USC is obviously not.
I think you misheard the question.
Yeah, so we're picking who's going to get upset this weekend out of those 3 teams.
I won't say who is going to, just who's more likely.
Who do you think? You got to pick one. Who's
more likely to get upset?
Ohio State.
Wait.
Or Indiana.
If you had to pick one of those 3 teams to get upset, who would it be?
So you niggas telling me y'all think Ohio State gonna lose?
No, that's not.
No, we're just saying if you have to pick one, who is the team you're picking?
Who's more likely to be upset?
Out of Ohio State.
Do you need a lifeline?
Ohio State.
No, what was the 3 teams again?
Ohio State and Penn State. Oregon is playing at Michigan, and Indiana is playing at Michigan State.
Well, yeah, I figured the team Okay, I assumed that when we said the favorites, I assumed Penn State was a part of that because they're the number 3 team in the country.
They are not.
They're not
Oh,
favored.
Allegedly.
okay. So we just talking about like casino favors. Oh yeah. It would have to be Indiana. I don't know. I'm sorry. Ohio State is not losing this game.
Wow.
Ohio State's not losing this game. Now Nebraska was some dog doo-doo, but Indiana still just not sold on them. Michigan State not that good, so I know they're gonna let me down, but yeah. I just can't say it's Ohio State. It's just
I'm
not.
gonna have to end it off and say Ohio State. I'd have to pick Ohio State to be upset, but I do think Indiana could potentially not cover if they don't have a healthy quarterback. If they do cover, I'm very interested more and more to see that Ohio State versus Indiana. But either way, I'm gonna be interested.
I'm anticipating an Evan crash out again if he sees.
I'm muting Evan.
I promise you, when he sees this, he's gonna be like, "Y'all all picked against Ohio State."
No.
Nobody picked.
No, that's not exactly. I'm saying that's not exactly what happened. Everybody did not
First thing next episode, all we're gonna see is, "Hey, Evan, you good?" So
I'm weak. But moving on from there to the SEC, we got the SEC always doing what the SEC does, just holding it down for everybody. We have to be the strong conference of them all. But we'll just talk strictly about their top 3: Texas A&M, Texas, and UGA. Out of those 3 teams, we want to see who their biggest threat is. Who is Texas A&M's biggest threat? Who is Georgia's biggest threat? And who is Texas's biggest threat? We'll start with you, B.
For A&M, I would say, I would say South Carolina. Really, yes, logically it's Texas, but South Carolina has a defensive line that is chaotic as hell. So, and they've been very scrappy this year. So I will say South Carolina, and I believe it's in South Carolina. So that's really what makes me intrigued for that one.
All right,
Georgia, Tennessee.
All right, and how about Texas? Who's their biggest threat?
Arkansas.
All right, BT.
I'm also going to say South Carolina, just because it comes first for Texas A&M. Can't look ahead, one game at a time. Can't look to the very last game of your schedule. It's not good, not healthy. For the Dogs, I'm going to actually say our biggest threat is going to be Lane Kiffin.
Oh, wow.
Going to Ole Miss on the road, all the way down there. We haven't been down there, I believe, since Jacob Easton's first year, so that's 2016-ish. I feel like it's been a long time since we went to the Grove, so I believe that's going to be a hectic game. Carson's going to have to grow up even more, and I think he will. And I think Texas, I'm going to say, sounds a little weird, but got to come first because it literally comes the week before. I'm going to say DJ Lagway's Texas. That's going to be their most interesting obstacle. I think DJ Lagway is going to be locked in and excited, ready for that game. I think he's going to play very well. However, Texas is going to squeak out, win, and lose to A&M.
I feel it. And Los?
So I think Texas A&M's biggest worry right now should definitely be South Carolina, like BT said. Not even just to take it one game at a time factor, because you do got to play Texas, and Texas is going to do what Texas is going to do. They didn't look the best against Georgia, but I definitely think they'll look very good against Texas A&M. So I think their biggest worry is South Carolina, because Marcel's not going to come in there doing whatever he was doing last game against South Carolina's defense. South Carolina's defense is not that. Like you're gonna run into some boys, you get to trying to scramble out that pocket like that. Yeah. So that's South Carolina's their biggest issue. Texas, I would have to say their biggest game. DJ Lagway looks good. DJ Lagway is throwing the ball phenomenally. I don't think Texas defense is as good as Grant gassed them up to be earlier. We're not the best offense in the world, but our offense looks a lot better now. DJ Lagway has been the starting quarterback. We move the ball, we can score points, and I think our defense is starting to look a little bit better too. So I definitely think Florida will be their problem. So also with Georgia,
I actually don't even hate that.
Hey man, I'm not gonna say y'all ass, as much as I want to. But y'all struggled a little bit with Kentucky. Y'all end up balancing it out and getting right. But after seeing what we did in Kentucky, I feel like we got a little bit more wiggle room to, play better against y'all than, I'm not going to get my hopes up too high because I don't want to hear about this after this weekend. But, yeah.
I'm not going to disrespect y'all.
That's what I'm going with.
I understand the argument.
All right, this fucking timer a little disrespectful.
Yeah, disrespectful.
I ain't disrespectful. I just think we probably might be the best competitors,
I think y'all play us
as of right now.
Expected.
Yeah, because I just think we're just a little bit better than people expect. So I think we're probably your biggest sneaks.
I feel that, but at the end of the day, Kirby plays all. He's gonna like y'all the greatest team in the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only thing that gives me real.
As he should.
He hates his rivals more than anybody I've ever seen hate their rivals before. So he genuinely might try to kill y'all
and punish y'all. Only thing I'll give y'all any chance is the fact that we are not that great with running quarterbacks, but DJ Lagway is not as fast as Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is ridiculously quick and shifty. But running quarterbacks do give us trouble for whatever reason sometimes. But I think we've kind of figured that out. Outside of that, I have no chance.
I think DJ's much more accurate though. I think on the run, I think that's where his X factor comes. Jalen can run and he just fast as hell, but DJ Lagway could get out that pocket and he could still throw it extremely accurately. And I think that's his only really, leeway into that battle. So hopefully he used it.
Y'all don't have a Ryan Williams, so there's that.
Yeah, y'all don't have a Ryan Williams. But
let's be honest. Your DBs were some dog shit that game. Ryan Williams wasn't that good that game. He shouldn't have caught that ball. Your DBs were just ass that game. Come on now. That pass was a duck, and it wasn't like he threw it as a dot on the money. Your DBs did not look for the ball. Ryan Williams went up and caught the ball, and then they ran into each other. That was y'all's fault.
Moving on, because we are way past our time on that. But just real quick to end the show off, we'll go ahead and give some quick picks. We'll start off with Ohio State and Penn State. We'll talk about them deeper and why we made these picks on Thursday. But real quick, Ohio State, Penn State, I'll go ahead and start off. I'm going to give the edge to I'm going to take Ohio State. I think it's going to be close, though. I think they barely cover. I think they win by...
That's the quickest renege ever.
They went by 5.
How? That wasn't
because you just picked the motherfuckers to not cover.
Huh?
You just picked them as the most likely to get upset.
If I had to pick one, I don't think Indiana's losing to Michigan State, and I don't think Oregon in any world is losing to Michigan. The best chance for anybody to get upset is definitely Penn State to beat Ohio State. That was just answering the question, but
they about to suit up Draymond. Watch.
I'm weak.
I'm sorry.
My pick for the game is going to be Ohio State. I think Ohio State wins. Not only because, but I think if the game was at night, I'd have a different pick. If I'm being honest, that just weighs that much. It weighs that much on me. BT.
I don't know, man. Drew Aller's not healthy right now. He said he probably will play. Extremely healthy Drew Aller. I'm probably taking Penn State in this, but I'm gonna give Ohio State just because I don't know the health of Drew Aller at the moment. So it's gonna be close, though. It's definitely gonna be close.
It's gonna be close. GP.
You literally took the words out of my mouth when I said when you said if this game was at night, you'd probably pick Penn State. I'm at the big Ohio State. They're not losing to Penn State at noon. I'm sorry, and they're gonna cover. They're gonna win by at least 10.
Absolutely. I love it. Go ahead, Loves.
Ohio State minus 3.5. Lock it in. That is the easy victory for the weekend.
I'm sorry, that's easy. Yeah,
that's easy money.
Penn State's too slow. Defense isn't good enough. Offensively,
Abdul Carter.
It's just
their defense is fine. Honestly, it's just
I don't know.
They ain't playing Dylan Gabriel. Lock it in. Ohio State minus 3.5.
And last two quick picks: Pitt, SMU. Who are you guys taking? Of course, you got. You got SMU favored by 7.5. But who are you guys taking?
SMU.
Let's go SMU money line. Do not lock in no spread. If they quarterback ain't playing good, you may lose this game. Like easily. Your quarterback throws more than one interception, you lost the game. You're not gonna have a chance to throw more than one pick and we can still come back at the end. And no, this ain't one of them games. Your quarterback has to be good, clear, concise mind, throw the football properly. Mm-hmm. Only chance you got.
MBT?
I'm going standing on my 10. I am going with Pittsburgh.
All right. And last but not least, the cocktail party, the granddaddy of them all. Got UGA versus Florida, neutral site game. You got UGA, I believe they're favored right now by 14. Let me get an accurate look at that. Give me 1 second. I do want to say it's 14 and a half, though. Let me see. My bad. Jesus Christ. Favored by 17. How are we looking?
Georgia, obviously, but I don't think we cover. We win by 2 touchdowns, though.
I got you. PT?
Dogs on top.
Los.
This light-skinned face you making, boy, it's crazy.
Florida money line! Florida money line! Florida money line! Bulldogs lose. Hey, I'm sorry. All that top 5 ranking talk we did earlier is.
All right, so clearly he's delusional. We are past our time. He is clearly delusional, out of his mind.
It's crazy.
That's over with. There's no way on God Green Earth that we lose to Florida. 17
There's
is
a way,
strong.
but I don't.
There's a way. I don't think it happens.
There's definitely a way or two, but I think
there's a way.
You gotta
be careful now.
There's no.
I'm not
don't
even
say it ain't no way before God show you one, boy.
I'm not even trying to think anything. I'm actually have been casually concerned with Florida because they've been playing a lot better recently. I just happen to think Carson finally gets his head out of his ass.
Can you say that one more time for me, please?
Y'all have played a lot better.
Okay. I didn't know. It kind of went out a little bit. One more time.
A lot better. I still whoop y'all ass by 2 touchdowns. Thank you.
I'll say y'all better get it going early against us, or y'all get y'all ass kicked. And I wouldn't mind it. And I think, I don't know, man. That looking Kirby eyes from last week, dog, y'all really might
get possessed, bro. He's possessed at this point.
We're really gonna cover. Possessed. I'm taking Georgia to actually cover. I'm gonna go 17.
I hope we cover. I'm telling you, Carson finna wake up finally.
I think we beat y'all by 3 touchdowns. I think DJ has a nightmarish game, to be honest with you. Sorry.
I would like to see.
I still like him though. But it's gonna be a nightmarish game.
When's the last time you liked a rival quarterback? Or like player, but you still wanted to whoop their ass?
I mean, I can give you a very, very quick answers. I didn't really care for Tim Tebow like that. If I'm being 100% honest, like he was great, but it was like I didn't feel no personal attachment to him. DJ Lightweight is probably the first Florida player I've liked since probably Percy Harvin.
They didn't fuck with Kyle Trask, bro.
All right, moving on. Auburn, Cam Newton.
Kyle Trask played very good, bro.
I didn't like it. I mean, what
nobody cares. Cam, the only person I think I can think.
Cam is the only Auburn player I've ever liked. I was told Cadillac and Ronnie was wrong. No. I'm not gonna cap. Cadillac and Ronnie were wrong. Alabama, I've never liked the Alabama player a day in my damn life.
You don't like Milroe? I like Milroe.
Tennessee, I never liked the Tennessee player a day in my damn life.
Yeah, no.
You ain't like Milton? I fuck with Milton. I fuck with Milton.
I'm about to hang up, bro.
All right,
I fuck with him a little bit. I want him to do good.
Sanctuary. We will catch y'all on Thursday.
Touchdown, DJ Lagway. Touchdown, Jaden Ball.
And the score is 42 dogs, 7 Gators.